What's an injury you sustained? And lied about how it actually happened because it was too embarrassing. Please subscribe, leave a like, comment and share the video to help the channel. I once punched a bowling ball because I was frustrated. It turns out bowling balls are pretty hard. Broke my hand. It was swollen and bloody. Told my boss at work I slammed my hand in a door. It's still broken. This was like 6 months ago. I got surgery a few years ago on my knees as I had dislodged some loose cartilage in the joint and also torn a bit of my meniscus. At the time I was playing a ton of ultimate frisbee, so I just told people it was that. It actually happened when I was getting up from a chair. I was having some trouble with my heart a few months ago that caused dizziness and occasional fainting. Passed out while in the shower and sprained my wrist. Told my coworkers it was a workout injury because I passed out in the shower was a visual I didn't want to give everyone. Edit. Whoa, this blew up. A lot of you are asking if my heart issue was resolved and what my diagnosis was. After several months of symptoms, I finally was diagnosed thanks to a Holter monitor my cardiologist had me wear. I wore it for 2 weeks. The monitor caught and recorded a ton of irregular heartbeats in both the upper and lower chambers in my heart that were happening daily. My heart was skipping beats, then doing extra little half beats for lack of a proper medical term, to try to compensate. I was also having rapid heartbeats, which I already knew from checking my pulse. My doctor put me on a medication to resolve the irregular beats, and my symptoms have all gone away. Unless I forget to take my meds, in which case I feel my heart having irregular beats at times. Many people are asking because they are having similar symptoms. Many different heart problems can cause similar symptoms, so please don't diagnose yourself based on my story. If you're having unusual symptoms that seem like they are stemming from your heart, I urge you to see a good cardiologist as soon as you can. You won't be able to diagnose yourself from internet research, and you need medical help to prevent any long-term damage. If your doctor tells you you're fine because you don't meet the usual criteria for heart issues, i.e. smoker, overweight, family history, etc., get another doctor and advocate for yourself. When I was younger, we dismantled one of those plastic football goals and reassembled it into a giant golf club. I was then swiftly hit in the face, causing my cheek to rip open. I had to tell my dad that someone kicked the football too hard into my face because I didn't want to admit that I was beaten by a homemade plastic rod. Edit. Picture of the scar for those asking. https://unga.com/a/teague4e. I have a 1.5 inch stab wound scar on my left bicep. When I was younger and attractive girls asked me how it happened, I would tell them it happened during a fight where someone pulled a knife on me. Actually, I worked in a butcher shop of a market when I was in my late teens. Part of my job was to collect all the carving knives from the prep area, put into a large plastic bin, and carry them behind the deli case to the kitchen to wash. One time coming back out of the kitchen, I failed to notice that someone had opened the trapdoor to the basement in my direct path. While I was in the kitchen, the plastic bin obscured my view. I took one fateful step opposite to the stairs side and tumbled into the basement with the contents of the bin raining down around me. Somehow I escaped with only a twisted ankle and the aforementioned stab wound in my arm, for which I had to go to the ER for stitches. I'll always remember being dazed, sitting at the bottom of the stairs looking up and seeing a meat cleaver embedded in one of the steps. I haven't exactly lied about it, but depending on who I'm talking to, I have been leaving out some important details. I got my wife an electric scooter for her birthday. The day she got it, we went out for a ride. I was on my electric skateboard. It had recently rained a bit, so the pavement was a little wet, but not too bad, as long as you were careful. I got the idea to pretend to fart and get a speed boost from it. So I made a farting sound and totally gunned it. Since the pavement was damp, my board slid out from under me and I went down directly in front of my wife. She didn't have time to stop, so she also fell. We both got some scrapes and bruises. Unfortunately, she got it worse than I did. When telling the story, I've left out the fart boost part if it's someone I'm not really close to. Edit. Hey, thanks for the silver. Was drunk walking home at 4 AM. crossed a few train tracks and came across a 2-meter high fences with tiny cylinders on top. I make the jump because I think I can. I fall. After standing up, worrying about my back pain, I looked at my arm. My arm was completely torn open, covered in blood because it got stuck on the fence. I came into the ER. The nurse says she'd seen shark bites before in Australia, and this looked worse. I had 49 stitches and now have a scar from a shark bite. Haha. Edit. Added the pictures for you all. Please be careful when opening them if you can't handle the gross stuff and all. Pictures. Edit 2. And this was the kind of fence. Edit 3. My arm now. Sorry for the flex and the clothes, but I'm working at home my arm now. I was shit-faced and fell in the parking lot of my friend's apartment and busted my face wide open at a birthday party. The birthday party just so happened to be the night before a second date with this really cute girl I met on Tinder. Went on the date and told the girl that a dog at work had knocked me over and I fell on my face. I work with dogs and me being put on my ass by a Great Dane or some other huge pup isn't unusual, and she understood. While on the date some guys came up to me and rudely asked me WTF happened to my face. My Tinder date grabbed my hand and made up some story about how I got in a fight defending her honor and a bar or some nonsense. I could hardly keep a straight face while she was telling the story, but she sold the shit out of it. It wasn't until a few days later I told her the real story of how I got hurt. Tinder date and I are getting married soon. I once fell out of bed and cracked my head open on a metal frame. Blood everywhere, visit, stitches etc. I was about 6 years old. I still have the scar decades later. My mother literally changed our beds, even though we really couldn't afford it to say for once. The truth is, I didn't want to go to bed, so I flung myself out of bed to pretend to be hurt and maybe get to stay up for a short while longer. I broke my dick once. Look, I was tired, practically asleep. I was about to jump on my bed to sleep. I missed somehow, landed on the floor with a chub. Hurt like motherfuck. I just said I got mugged and hit with a bat. Edit. RIP inbox. Was getting hot and heavy with my boyfriend at the time. He reached under my shirt and unhooked my bra and then pulled my shirt and bra up over my head at the same time. As he did this, the underwire in my cheap ass bra popped out and left a huge scratch right across my forehead. I made up some story about digging through my closet looking for something and getting scratched by a hanger. My grandmother noticed a mark on my forehead. It was round and just under an inch in diameter. She asked me what happened. Without missing a beat I straight up replied with, "I burnt my head with my hair straightener." She grumbled that I should be more careful. What really happened, you ask? I got my head stuck between the back seat and back armrest of a car while rooting in the back seat. TL. Dr. XBF left a handprint bruise on my face. Told my parents and other friends and family that I hit it on the steering wheel. An ex-boyfriend and I were once getting kinky and he was repeatedly slapping me in the face while choking me. Granted, it was a little harder than I prefer. He was also coked out, and in my experience, people don't always realize how aggressive they're being while on coke, but it wasn't unbearable or anything. He suddenly stopped a few minutes later, eyes wide in awe. "Did I do that?" he asked. "Do what?" "Your face is all bruised." "It's fine. I'll look at it later," I said dismissively. Later comes around, and I look in the mirror to see a purple handprint outlined across my cheeks. Even the lines of his hands were painted on my face in broken blood vessels. My parents didn't know I was dating him, and they certainly didn't think I was having sex, especially like that. On my way home I stopped at Ulta and got color correcting makeup, piled it on using the mirror in my car, and wore my hair down and slightly over my face. My parents could still see some bruising though, and when they asked what happened, I told them this absolute whopper. I was driving home from work and dropped my water bottle. It started to roll, as if it was gonna get in the way of the brake pedal, so I bent down to grab it. While I was still kind of bent down, a cat ran into the road, and when I slammed on the brakes I hid my face on the wheel. I've been waiting 25 years for this moment. As a 10 years old boy, my friend had a mini hoop on his closet or in his room. We would always shoot the ball while playing Super Nintendo or whatever. One day we started shooting and then had a real one-on-one game with dribbling, scorekeeping, etc. I went for a dunk and didn't realize the closet door knob was missing and it was just jagged metal jutting out of the door. I remember looking down and seeing my shorts torn open and a bloody gash, and I was in shock. The cut was inches from my man parts. This was a close one. It wasn't bleeding a ton and I could see fat and other strange shit. It was a couple inches long, and I was a fucking idiot 10 years old, so I got a bunch of bandages from his house and limped home. Neosporin and bandages for weeks until it healed. Never told my parents, not sure why. I have a visible scar to this day. Please subscribe, leave a like, comment and share the video to help the channel.